Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we are going to discuss about adjective clause. Uh, Before we start our lesson, I hope you have to pray by yourself. Okay, now what is adjective? This is very important to understand for English learners about adjective. Adjective clauses. An adjective clause is dependent clause modifies nouns or pronouns on independent clause. Modify means to describe or to give an information about the nouns. So we have independent and dependent clauses. What is clause? Clause is a structure that has a subject and verb. Adjective clause has two clauses. There are independent and dependent clauses. An independent is a main clause, and the clause can stand alone as a structure, but dependent clause cannot stand alone as a sentence. It must be connected to an independent clause. So main clause or dependent clause can stand alone, but dependence cannot stand alone. It has connectors. What connectors that we have to know? There are several connectors that we have to memorize and understand in adjective clause. Who to replace as a subject of person, and whom to replace an object of persons. Which to replace a subject or an object things, but whose to replace as a possessive adjective or the own. Whence to replace about times. Where to replace place. That is for both persons or things. For example, here, I met the boy who is kind to everyone. So I met boy is independent clause, who is kind to everybody is dependent clause. So adjective clause modify nouns. Who is kind to everybody is to describe, to tell, to explain about a boy. This is an additional example for you to understand. And this one is to replace an object of persons, so we can use whom. The man was friendly. I met him at market. Whom I met at the market. The man whom I met in the market was friendly. So to replace him, we have to use whom. Now this the previous examples to connectors of object and subject. Okay, and this one, the river is polluted. It flows through the town. So it's for subjecting. So we have to use which. And also we can use which for object of things. For example, the books were very expensive. I bought them at the bookstore. Why use them? Because objects of things more than once. Objects of things are plurals. The books. Okay. So whose is possessive and is used for both people's things must be followed by a noun. So after whose must be followed by nouns because this possessive adjective. Hilman is the best student. His hobby is reading books. So his refers to Hilman. So we have to use whose. Okay, you can read by yourself. I love my mom very much. Her cook, so her refers to mom. Okay, now we are going to discuss about here when. Okay, the university is in Jember. My son studies there. So the university unit university where my son studies is in Jember. So where showing about the place. Okay, you can read by yourself. Where showing places, cities, buildings, street, or tourism places, etc. So when showing about time, you can use century, maybe year, day, night, months, everything. Showing about time. Your friend wants to know when you were born. So when you were born, showing about time. My family was taking a trip during the months when I graduated from my school. So when showing about times, the month refer to months. Okay. So now adjective clause using preposition. So we can use preposition before connectors. Let's see example. The man was awful. I talked to him. So talk to him. To is prepositions. And the chair is hard. I am sitting in it. So the preposition is in. Okay, this one preposition. So you have to move to adjective clause. The man to whom I talked was helpful. The man to whom I talked was helpful. Before connector, so you have to use preposition. Look, okay, preposition and object of preposition whom, adjective. The chair is hard. I'm sitting in it. So you can read by yourself, I think. Okay, this is exercise. So you can do at home. You can do individually. Try and send to me if you have done it. Now there are two types of adjective clause: restrictive and non-restrictive clause. What is restrictive? Restrictive means the adjective clause is necessary to identify who or what the pronouns refers to. So it is necessary to understand, to know who and what the doer, who and what the subject. So we don't use comma if it is necessary. Like the lecturers who teaches English is excellent teacher. So it is important to understand who is the teacher, who is the lecturer. So we have to understand. We want to know who is the subject. So we don't use comma. But if non-restrictive, we have to use comma. Okay, it's not necessary to know because it is already clear. A lecturer, Mr. Kiki, who teaches English, is excellent. So we use comma because already clear. Mr. Kiki is the subject. Okay, the man whom Slice I met yesterday teaches chemistry. So we don't use comma So it is necessary to know. If already clear, it's already we already know who is the pronoun and the subject, so we use comma. So comma is very important in adjective clause to identify, to know who and what the pronouns refer to. And this is exercise I think you can do by yourself at home, using who, whom, which. But you have to understand, you have to analyze which one is independent clause, which one is dependent clause, and we can use which one is main clause or sub clause. This one is exercise for you, so you have to read at home and do individually. Okay, the teenagers counted the money they earned at the car wash at the car wash. So you have to use who, whom, which, or that. The box I mailed to my sister yesterday was heavy, so this is referred to who, whom, which, or that. Okay, I think it's enough today meetings. I do hope you understand what I have explained to you. Remember, for you have to understand which one is adjective clause and which one is independent clause, which one is dependent clause. After this, so you have to understand the connectors, who refers to subject and whom refers to object of people, and so on. So you have to memorize the connectors, and also non-descriptive clause and descriptive clause. Before I end our meetings, I give you wise word today. You can learn something new every day. You can learn something new every day if you want to listen. If you want to listen information, teaching program, anything around you, you will know something new in your life. I think it's enough for today meetings. I hope you enjoy my lesson. If any question, you can contact me. The last I say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.